We're here at Cadwell Park, where our competitors are looking forward to tackling the infamous mountain. You're joining us for round 4 of the Thundersport GB Championship 2016.
First up, the Crank Racing Thundersport 500 Championship. There you can see the girls, Sara and Kirsty, wrapped up nice and warm ahead of this day of racing. It should warm up actually as we get out. It's not damp on circuit, but it's been a bit misty this morning, so grip level's not at a premium in this first race, but we are expecting the sun to come out a bit later on. Now then, Joe Barton leads the championship overall here. There he is, number 1, just up behind him, number 1, 2, 1 there. Josh leading, Will leading. His brother is on pole position ahead of Ben Coyle there, number 14. The lights go out and away we go to start this race. By the way, Ryan Vickers there, number 321, started 3rd on the grid. Pete Bardell not racing. So Pete Bardell, he was 2nd in the championship, not out on the grid. On board here with Ben Coyle as he closes up on Ryan Vickers, number 321. Ryan, a newcomer to this championship for 2016, but it's coming along very well indeed. Ben Coyle, a race winner at Thundersport 500 level. Ryan Vickers, who's about to pass so far, not been on that top step, and is looking for a podium here at Cadwell Park. Closing up there on Will Leaning, coming into this round. Will Leaning down in 10th overall, so a bit of inconsistency at the start of the championship. It was also, just looking further back there, a good start from Reese Hutchinson, number 88, and Jodie Chalk, she's going well on the Honda, number 87. John O'Toole is inside the top 10. James Pickford got off to a decent start. Got Dave Grace in there as well, Nick Cliff, Matt Snow, Joe Miller, and plenty of others to boot. Out of the new chicane, Will Leaning it is that has this advantage ahead of Ben Coyle and Joe Barton, the champion of last year and the championship leader. There is Reese Hutchinson, number 88, rider from Middlesbrough. So pretty much everywhere far to travel for Reese when he's on the Thundersport calendar. There is Jodie Chalk. Big gap then back to number 80, James Pickford, and then John O'Toole. There is Miller, followed by number 81, Owen Graves. He's got off to a brilliant start as well. Across the line we go, and into the slipstream comes Ben Coyle. We're on board with him now. He pulls over to the left, and he'll have the inside line going up into Coppice Corner. Ooh, a few spots of rain there on the camera lens as they go down the start-finish straight. Now these spikes are all running Dunlop tyres for the 2016 season, and well, they're treaded, and so they'll last pretty well in these conditions with the heat is into them. And if there's too much standing water, then we could get ourselves into a bit of trouble. Around, you see there a change. Joe Barton has just fallen back to 4th place now. Ryan Vickers has got back past him. Vickers trying to close up on the leading duo as they make their way round the gooseneck. It's Ben Coyle with the lead from Will Leaning. Will Leaning very quick there down into Mansfield, but doesn't find a way past. Ryan Vickers really closing up on them now in 3rd. Vickers number 321 from Thetford, just down the road from Stetterton. On board with Vickers now on the Satchwell Racing Honda. I thought there for a minute he was thinking about a move around the outside into the bottom of the mountain, but as the rain just falls here, there'll be quite a few spots on the visors of the helmets for these riders, which can sometimes be a little unnerving for some, but others just continue on as if they've not seen anything at all, and it's closing up at the front accordingly. Ben Coyle it is that leads from Will Leaning, and then Ryan Vickers. Championship leader Joe Barton just watching how this all pans out in 4th. We just saw there Owen Graves leading this bunch. There's Matt Snow, number 70 on the Rat Out Racing Honda. A bit of a cheeky look over there from Ben Coyle, a Liverpool rider, just making sure he's just basically seeing that he's got lots of company still, as Will Leaning tucks up behind him. Will and his brother Josh, of course, at times they can be absolutely outstanding in this class, and then other times they just struggle with consistency. Leaning goes up the inside of Ben Coyle, and here we just see Ryan Vickers going past the pair of them into Park Corner. Brilliantly done there. Will Leaning, who got the lap record yesterday before falling off, doing very well here. I should just mention that James Butcher fell yesterday as well, and Butcher's normally up and around the top 5 or 6, but he's struggling here this weekend at Cadwell Park. We're on board now with Ben Coyle. Really close in, that was a bit too close. He has to go straight on there now, provided, well, he's not gained any advantage at all, so he's got to do all the work again. There'll be no penalty for Ben Coyle, who slots in behind the championship leader, Joe Barton. It's a familiar sight for him, seeing the back end of that bike. Of course, Barton, the champion last year. Ben Coyle at times was on the money with Joe Barton, but got himself injured, and that cost him the championship. He's missed a few races this year as well. Joe Barton openly admitted, didn't he, to Sid at the last round, that he won't be able to attend every single round this season, and that if he could win the championship, then he still will try. There you can see modern technology on the left instead of a pit board. A gentleman just telling a rider how big the gap is behind him with his hands. And there's a change for third place. Ben Coyle back past Joe Barton. There is Dave Grace. He's got past 81 Owen Graves. There is John O'Toole though, just going up underneath him into turn one. A few puffs of smoke from one or two of the 500s going into turn one. Back at the front, Ryan Vickers then. Ryan Vickers, who was in the Aprilia Super Teens a few years ago with mum and dad, and raced for a little while. He was an ex-motocross rider. Oh, well out of shape, and he needs his motocross skills there as he goes down into Mansfield. Oh, and you can see how wet the grass is there, and the motocrossing really coming in handy as he gets back out on circuit. His chances now of a race win have all disappeared, and he's found, well, he must be back in 5th or 6th place, I would imagine, after that. 5th place, I believe, as he comes through the bottom of the mountain in a moment. So we have a battle now for just 3 riders. Will Leaning it is that has the advantage, 32 from 14 Ben Coyle. Then it's Joe Barton. Then there's a bit of a gap back to the likes of Josh Leaning, Reece Hutchinson, Jody Chalk, and then Vickers is in amongst that group. Onto the start-finish straight again. Will Leaning has a look under his arm, and the gap has got smaller if you look at the technology on the left of your screen. That is brilliant. Brilliant pit board. Here comes Ryan Vickers then. He's just got past Josh Leaning, and that now puts him up into 4th place again. So good stuff from Ryan Vickers. There's Jody Chalk. She's got a hand tucked in behind the front of the bike there to try and maximise aerodynamics. There is Ben Coyle underneath Will Leaning into Park Corner. Brilliant stuff then here in the Thundersport 500. Ben Coyle takes the lead once more, having gone straight on at that new chicane. He runs wide there, opens the door into the gooseneck, and Will Leaning does not need a second invitation. There we go, straight through. Will Leaning is after this victory. Ben Coyle in 2nd. Small gap back to the champion, number 1, Joe Barton. This time Ben Coyle makes it through the new chicane, and we head up towards the mountain. Still a bit greasy out on circuit, left, then right, uphill. Now who gets the better drive? Oh, Will Leaning was dangerously close to the grass there on the left as they now make their way through Hall bends, tight and twisty, but great fun, I would imagine, on these 500s. Of course, the lap record in this class of 41.099, as we mentioned, went to Will Leaning. Tell you what, it's amazing how quick these Thundersport 500 riders go in the last few years. That gap's getting even smaller now, look, on the left. Oh, and it's gone. Ben Coyle gets past Will Leaning as they go up across the start-finish line. This is going to go all the way to the wire. There were a few years ago when Adam Shelton was roaring round this circuit, and we didn't believe we'd ever see anyone beating that lap record. Well, the last 2 years, it's gone both times. 88 and 87 there, battling it out with Reece Hutchinson and Jody Chalk. Now here's Ryan Vickers, who's caught Joe Barton and has passed Joe Barton, and that is brilliant stuff from Vickers, who didn't look like he had a chance of getting himself onto the podium, is now up to 3rd, ahead of the champion Joe Barton. So these really greasy conditions maybe not helping out Joe at the moment. He's perhaps just thinking, well, I'll just finish the race and take the points. Ben Coyle there, here on this final lap, hanging it round the outside of number 51 Ollie Kelly into Mansfield. Brilliantly done there. It was brave. Well, I certainly wouldn't have done that, but hey, look at the advantage. He's managed to get himself ahead of Will Leaning, and that should be that. The checkered flag is waiting, and a big stand-up wheelie from Will Leaning, who's showboating, and there's still a few corners left to go. Looks like Vickers is going to pick up a podium here in 16 points. He's managed to get past Barton and he's stayed ahead of him as well. And look at this, the Leaning brothers. Well, it's not really a surprise, is it? They're both barking mad. Well, Josh, at the moment, he's in 5th place. He's not mincing around in 6th like he says he sometimes often will do. There's Ben Coyle. He takes the 25 points. Will Leaning takes 2nd. 3rd will go to Ryan Vickers. A brilliant podium for him. Joe Barton, the champion, in 4th. Josh Leaning in 5th. And Reese Hutchinson, a solid 6th place there. Race 1, Crank Racing Thundersport 500. Top 3 then on the podium. Ben Coyle there on the left. We've got Ryan Vickers on the right, Will Leaning. And in the Senior Cup, Chris Sattrell, the winner, ahead of Nick Turner and Clive Mindham. And the freshman winner, Robert Carver.
Chris, what a fabulous weekend you're having. You must be so pleased.
Yeah, no, it's been going very well actually, with Ryan winning and getting on the podium as well, and us as well. So, yeah, a couple of wins, 2nd place, hopefully more a bit later.
You must have some people to thank.
Yeah, everyone that just turns up with us, Shannon, my mum, everyone basically. We all work as a big team up there, and it's having a nice trophy haul this weekend, which is good.
Robert, well, obviously you were the winner of the Freshman Cup, but you were the only one actually in there because you're blowing all the others into the weeds. So you're in the elite class. You must be well pleased.
Yeah, well, I put a decent time in yesterday to get on mega laps, and yeah, that was it really.
Excellent. Have you got some people you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank CJ Accessories in Barnsley, my mum and dad, and Clem for getting me my levers.
Hi Ben, well, what an absolutely mint race that was. I mean, so tough.
Oh yeah, it really is tough. The pace today is like, and yesterday as well, it's unbelievable. We've gone into the 140s now. Will set it first yesterday, and we were all saying like that'd put us in the middle of the RRV 450 class. The pace of our class is unreal.
It is indeed. I mean, those bikes shouldn't be able to go around here at that pace. Have you got some people to thank?
Yeah, I've just like to pay massive thanks to my mum and dad. 'Cause obviously without them I wouldn't be racing. All my family and friends, my girlfriend, my nan, Wendy, my other nan, and obviously my sponsors, RST, Musty's Polishing, Carter's Classic Cars, Infinite Computing, and who else? That's everything. That's all.
The Crank Racing Thundersport 500's Race 2. We saw a brilliant one earlier, and this grid continues to grow. 70 riders entered this weekend in the Thundersport 500s. Of course, we can't have 70 riders out on the grid, so they went out in qualifying. These are the elite of the elite, I suppose you could say, in the Thundersport 500 Championship. But the rest have gone into cup races. And if you're interested in watching those, you'll be able to see both of those on the Thundersport GB website, thundersportgb.com. Here we go then for race 2. It was Will Leaning on pole position, Ben Coyle that fought it out for race 1 earlier on. Ryan Vickers was in the frame, and Joe Barton wasn't far away either. Good start there from Lou Osler. Nice to see him up at the sharp end. Ryan Vickers there goes into turn 1 in 3rd, and he's just moved back to 4th. That's Ben Coyle just going underneath him as we head around Charlie's. You have to stay with us here because we'll see various onboards in this race, and these races are always brilliant at Cadwell Park. Of course, we'll be back here again for the season finale. I wonder whether it will go down to the wire. We certainly hope so. The champion, Joe Barton, it is that leads from Ben Coyle. He's got up at the front into Park Corner. That's exactly where he loves to be. Further back there, you see number 2 of Elliot Humphrey. Always good to see Elliot out there. His main target each and every weekend is just to get himself into this main race and see what he can do. 4th place at the moment for Ryan Vickers, the Thetford rider out front there. Will Leaning, well, he was going to have a look around the outside of Ben Coyle. Ben Coyle did exactly the same thing himself earlier on, and Will Leaning rejoined, but way back. Jody Chalk goes through, his brother as well has gone through, so lots of work for Will Leaning. Big wheelie from the champion Joe Barton over the top of the mountain. Through Hall Bends we go. It's Barton from Ben Coyle at the moment. Here we see Will Leaning, who made that mistake earlier, but has made up a place. He goes underneath 88, Reese Hutchinson. There he is. He's now just behind Jody Chalk. There's John O'Toole, Lewis Osler. James Butcher. Now we're on board with Joe Barton. What a view that is. Right on the nose of Ben Coyle. Brilliant stuff from the champion there, Joe Barton, but he loses the place. Ben Coyle gets him on the slipstream into turn 1. Now we go back to Ryan Vickers, who's in third and has got front row seats for this double battle out at the front. Onto the back straight, and a rear end wobble there from Joe Barton, and he loses all momentum, and look what that can do for you. He's out of it now, and Ryan Vickers goes through into second place, but Ryan Vickers, did he miss a gear there? Sounded like he might have missed a gear, and Barton goes back through on him. Ben Coyle it is that leads then from Barton, Vickers, then Josh Leaning, Jody Chalk, Will Leaning, then there is number 80, it's James Pickford, who's having an excellent run out here. Really looking very strong indeed. Coyle from Barton, from Vickers, from Josh Leaning. Josh Leaning wasn't in the running for the win earlier on, but he certainly is now. Running really wide there was Ryan Vickers in third place on the exit of Mansfield. Now down towards the bottom of the mountain. In the background there, Will Leaning has made up another place. He's passed Jody Chalk and has now got his brother in his sights as they go over the top there. The grandstand packed full of people, and Josh Leaning has a look over his shoulder and sees his bro chasing him down. He will have of course seen his brother going straight on a little earlier on, and so here we go. We're going to see them both racing each other on circuit into Barn Corner. Ben Coyle leads from Joe Barton, then Ryan Vickers and Josh Leaning. Josh Leaning, they're trying to get on terms with these guys. There is Will Leaning just in the background in 5th place, and then 87 Jody Chalk to Copper's Corner, uphill, further back. There's 101 Cole Mooney, Chris Satchwell, 46, who was the winner, of course, last time out in the Senior Cup. Colin Mooney, who we saw a moment ago, number 101, currently leads the way in the championship and in this Senior Cup race as it stands. There's Josh Leaning in 4th place at the moment, desperately trying to cling on to these guys. Now on board here, brilliant camera shot of Joe Barton as they go through the gooseneck. There is Ryan Vickers following his every move, downhill into Mansfield. And Joe Barton thought about to move up the inside of Coyle. Some brilliant racing in the Thundersport 500s here at Cadwell Park. And of course there'll be more of this to come throughout the rest of the season, with Joe Barton not attending every round. It really could close up, and in the background there, Will Leaning, who made the mistake and was gradually closing up on the group, has unfortunately gone down, and it's not the first time this weekend he's done it. Josh Leaning won't know about it yet, but when he looks over his shoulder, he will realise that his brother has gone walkabouts. So Will Leaning, unfortunately, it's not going to be a podium for him. Josh Leaning, was he looking to try and follow in his brother's footsteps there? Straight on into the hairpin, nearly completely wiped out the two ahead of him. And Josh Leaning here, well, I'll tell you what, they're not shy in coming forward, are they, the Leaning brothers? They do try everything, but unfortunately it looks like this is now a three-way battle for the race win in the Crank Racing Thundersport 500s. On board with Ryan Vickers on the Satchwell Racing Honda, closing up, trying to find a way past the champion, Joe Barton, who in turn is looking to get past Ben Coyle, who's looked pretty good this weekend, it has to be said, here at Cadwell. Barton is past, and now a double slipstream coming from Ryan Vickers. Oh no, he stays in 3rd place, Ben Coyle there. Look how close these guys are, and up the inside goes Ryan Vickers. You leave the gap open an inch, and they will completely barge it open here in the Thundersport 500s. Now we come into the gooseneck. Brilliant view of the gooseneck this. Flick it left, you can't even see that, it's completely blind. Then downhill, off camber, Mansfield, right down the gearbox. Great place for overtaking, but you have to get it done right because it's so easy to run out of room. As it is down into the chicane, I thought Coyle was going to have to sit up and go straight on again then. Any one of these guys could win this one. Up the inside into the bottom of the mountain, no! Oh, Joe Barton closes the door on the front of Ryan Vickers here, and then he's a big wheelie over the top of the hill. There's not going to be enough room here for him to go past. One line through Hall Bends, but if you can get the right line up the inside into the hairpin, you'll be okay. Not close enough this time. Brilliant racing here from these 500s. One of the races of the season so far, and it's between these three. You would not put money on it. 88 there is Reese Hutchinson up ahead of James Pickford. Jody Chalk having another good race out there as well. Owen Graves is later up in the top 10, but it's all about this battle for the race win. There you see the 380s at number 80, 87. That's Jodie Chalk. She's just gone through on James Pickford. Pickford's lost a couple of places there. Now on board with Ryan Vickers. Race leader was the champion Joe Barton, and is still at the moment. And no, they both get done by Ben Coyle into Park Corner. Brilliant racing this. It's looking like at the moment, if you can hold the lead just at the top of the mountain, you should be good for the race victory. We've not seen any moves made into the hairpin just yet. Josh Leaning did have a good go at it a little while ago, but it went terribly wrong, and at the moment he's in a lonely 4th place, but he's about 6-7 seconds ahead of Jodie Chalk. Here is John O'Toole, number 27, up ahead of 82 Lou Osler and 81 Owen Graves. These guys just outside the top 10. Coyle leads, Joe Barton second, Ryan Vickers in third, through Hall Bends again and into the hairpin. Who will break in this Thundersport 500 outing? Joe Barton knows he won't be at every round. He wants the points so that he can take away a big advantage. Ben Coyle wants to get himself back into the championship. He's third, and when we came into this round, he was 70 points behind the man who's trying to get up the inside of him into turn 1. Ryan Vickers, well, this is the new season for Ryan Vickers. He's 7th in the championship. He's not, in truth, going to win it, but he could finish in the top 3 as Jodie Chalk there has managed to now completely get hold of that 5th place. Josh Leaning at the moment in a lonely 4th. Ryan Vickers we're on board with here. He's in the slipstream of Joe Barton. Ben Coyle has gone from 1st down into 3rd. No, for now. Oh, he runs wide. He almost ran into the back of Joe Barton and had to roll off, and that's allowed Vickers through again. Ben Coyle has it all to do all over again. Vickers now fancies a nibble at the lead through the gooseneck. Right, then left, then downhill. Will Vickers have a look up the inside into Mansfield? No, not this time. Superb racing, and you would be crazy to predict the winner, wouldn't you? It's just impossible to tell at the moment. I really am split. Ryan Vickers, well, it would be his first race win in the class. Joe Barton we know has excellent racecraft, but Ben Coyle had his number on more than a few occasions in 2015. We're on board here with Barton over the top of the mountain, and Ryan Vickers closes in. Through Hall Bends we go once more, and as I mentioned last time, one line through here. Can anyone have a go into the hairpin? No. Now, into Barn Corner. Single file. And then now a chance on the start-finish straight to get into the slipstream for Ryan Vickers. And he'll slingshot his way out, and he will have an opportunity to go up the inside here into turn 1. Ben Coyle's not out of this one either, but here you are on board with Joe Barton, and he's just taken that slightly defensive line that's allowed Vickers back into it. Now then, onto the back straight. Ben Coyle looks in a dangerous position, doesn't he? Here's Ryan Vickers. He's now alongside Joe Barton, but watch out for Ben Coyle because he'll have slipstream on the pair of these. Looks like Vickers might take the lead into Park Corner. No, just as we said, Ben Coyle has caught the pair of them napping and goes back out front again into Park Corner. Brilliantly done there, and the door is open, and up in the inside into Chris Kerb of all places goes Joe Barton. That has just lost him about a bike length or two maybe to Ben Coyle. So they're going to have to be careful here, work together to get back past number 14, the rider from Aintree. He's certainly going like a racehorse at the moment. Absolutely flying here into the chicane. On board here with Vickers. Oh, Barton high sides. Oh, Ryan Vickers whacks into the back of him and almost high sides himself. What a moment. How on earth have the pair of them stayed on that bike? I do not know. That might be the win for Ben Coyle. He might just drift off here, but that was a moment and a half in the Thundersport 500. I wonder, if Joe Barton has actually only stayed on that bike courtesy of actually getting a nudge from Vickers. Remarkable stuff here in the Thundersport 500s. This is the battle that continues still for 5th place between Jodie Chalk and Reece Hutchinson. Back further is John O'Toole being overtaken there by Owen Graves. And, well, brilliant stuff. The last lap flag is out. They're not going to catch Ben Coyle, who goes across the line and posts the fastest lap of the race, a 40.9. That's only a couple of tenths off the lap record. So it looks as though the top three will probably stay in those positions, but what a moment that was for both Barton and for Vickers. The pair of them could have easily come off and allowed Josh Leaning and Jody Chalk onto the podium, but it's not going to happen. This is the battle further back. 81, Owen Graves up ahead of John O'Toole and Matt Snow. They're inside the top 10, those guys. Barton's trying everything in this final lap to close in on Ben Coyle. It's a shame that that moment happened a little while ago, because this would have been a race that would have surely gone down to the wire. Ben Coyle a bit hot into the new chicane, but in the end these guys I think will probably take that, and Ryan Vickers is looking over his shoulder already. He just cannot wait to see that checkered flag. He may need a change of underwear when he gets back into Parc Ferme in a moment, and likewise for the champion Joe Barton. But you have to tip your cap here to Ben Coyle. It looked like he was down and out, having fallen back to third, but he's fought his way up. A plucky ride from the Aintree rider, and a good ride here from Jody Chalk, and she really is impressing on these Thundersport 500s. Good battles all the way through the field. The top 10 absolutely flying here at Cadwell Park, and then John O'Toole has gone down at the hairpin and is absolutely livid. Oh, what a shame for him on this final lap. The checkered flag goes out. It is a win for Ben Coyle, and brilliantly done. Joe Barton takes second, third for Ryan Vickers. We'll catch a breath. What a rush here in Thundersport GP. Josh Leaning does take fourth after that major moment for him at the hairpin earlier in the race. Jody Chalk fifth, Reese Hutchinson in sixth. Jody Chalk, incidentally, with that, has taken the Rider of the Day award, and rightly so. Cole Mooney, the winner in the Senior Cup, there ahead of Chris Satchwell and Nick Turner as well. And in the freshman, you see Sam Palfreman there, the race winner, ahead of Robert Carper. Now then, championship standings, it has closed up. Joe Barton leads. Ben Coyle, though, look at that, lifts himself into second place. Pete Bardell, of course, not racing, is down to third. Josh Leaning fourth. Ryan Vickers up to fifth. In the seniors, Cole Mooney well in charge of this one, but Chris Satchwell now moves ahead of Dave Moss. Mark Leaning is still fourth. Nick Turner fifth, and Clive Mindham in sixth. And in the freshmen, Sam Palfreman the lead. Oh, it's a big one. Just a point ahead of Robert Carver, with George Davies a couple of points adrift in third.
Colin, tough weekend, but great weather at Cadwell, and it's been tough. I mean, you know, those boys are not messing about, are they?
No, they're not at all. The seniors are going for it this weekend. Started off all right. The weather's held out because it was looking to be bad, but second race there was mint. Absolutely loved it. Fantastic.
It was brilliant. I loved it to bits. And have you got some people to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Russ Holmes, our tyre sponsor for the day. I'd like to thank my girlfriend, Barbara Cadwell. She helps me all the time, and I always forget to mention her. I'd like to dedicate the win to Kevin Little's dad. He passed away yesterday, so dedicate the win to him and thoughts with their family.
What a moment in the Thundersport 500 race that was. Another day and another round over here at Cadwell Park. Thanks for joining us for round 4. We'll see you at Alton Park in Cheshire in July.